This is exciting. Got some good
Great.
key players excited to come on and learn about what this compilation opportunity is all about in a conscious way. Hey,
Hey,
hey, Jules, welcome.
hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for
How
tuning
is
in.
everyone doing?
Good, good.
Spectacular. Yourself?
I'm good.
Awesome. Amazing. I listened to your track as well, Jules, I think. You had sent
Yes.
me his track, right, Jared?
I think so, yes. Oh, that was very good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
loved it. That was
thank
fantastic.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
That's what this, like, that's the fun of this, and that's what we want to get more of as an opportunity as well, to be able to give people an opportunity to feature a little 1 minute sound bite from a song that you do, or an original or something like that, so that every 2 weeks when we come together for these meetings, essentially what we can start doing is showing each other our work. But what we want to do, and what we're going to get into, and hopefully a few more people join in, but we're going to just let you guys know what's up, is basically we're going to do it from the perspective of the hero's journey, or the sacred sojourn of the soul. So really understanding that it's about transformation, and as a collective we're going through a transformation, and then as individuals we're also going through a transformation, and then music actually penetrates through the rational mind in order to get to the heart, where we have the ability to resonate with people at a different level and actually let the messages go deeper. And so Jared today is going to be going into some of the frequencies that we want to bring into the music that we want to have on this CD. And then in terms of the lyrics, what we really want is it to be conscious, about conscious manifestation, about conscious creation. It just simply be about higher level music, essentially. So that's what this compilation CD is going to be all about. And so Jared and
Yeah.
I and Will are kind of spearheading this opportunity, but we're totally open to support. We don't have all the answers. I know that we've got a load of people that are in the industry that have connections, in the feedback. And did you guys get the email that I sent out about, like, at 21 after, right in time to be like, hey, remember? And sorry I didn't respond for about 2 months, but you did? Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I did. I just saw it just right before I hopped on. I got it. Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So basically, we're going to kind of make this more official. And so we've kind of created a concept. And then I know that on the first meeting, we had the women really show up and represent, which was amazing to see, and just so interesting, because then the next meeting that we had was all men and me as well. And actually, and we had another lady as well. Who was it that had joined in? She was amazing.
Susie Corey.
Susie Corey. We have such powerful people that are in this group, that are connected, that we might not know each other yet, but we're the players on the field, my friends. So it's great to be able to identify other board players in the game of life. And then really what we want to do is feature 22 different artists on this CD. And then we're not going to have any repetition. So it's 22 separate different people. But then ultimately it can track back to your work. And then in promoting the album, then you're promoting the 21 other people plus yourself. And then you've got 21 other foot soldiers advocating for the CD that you're on, that other people get to see as well. So it's a great way to just really combine everything that we're doing. I feel, as an empowerment coach, if you don't know who I am, then Laura J is what I go by. And essentially, I'm a farm girl, Canadian. I like to sing sometimes. I kind of tuned into a higher level of just being. Well, I've always just kind of been different, and I've always been really fixated on the spiritual journey, and I've been walking the path of a mystic without a monastery for years. I lived in England for 3.5 in a relationship with one of my teachers in the John Maxwell program, coaches for teachers, speakers, and leaders, essentially. And I got really high level training, and then I ended up 5 years ago coming back and wound up in my grandparents' basement. And like humble pie, I got really accustomed to the taste of it, and I have not really been able to figure out how to be in this world that is more about profits than people, because I'm more about people than profits. So most of what I do, I just give from my heart, just because people need it. And I feel right now that with all of the suicide and the mental health issues going on, people need it more than I need to line my pockets with money that is based on a system that doesn't even have any foundation. And I feel like right now we've come here to actually be part of the remaking of that, so that instead of it being about the new world order, that it become about the now moment, which is the new orderly world that we have an opportunity to create together. So it's about dreaming a new dream together. It's about using our music to actually bring ourselves home to our heart center, to call ourselves back into alignment with who we truly are and whose we truly are, regardless of the label or the box that we put God into. So that's been the journey that I've really been on. And in the process, I wound up in a mental institution about a year and a half ago, because I was saying, I'm an ambassador for peace, here to bring peace to this world. And I don't know what the answer is, but what I know is that I can't do it from my grandparents' basement. I need to talk to the leaders, and the system is corrupt. There's a weed shop that's been open since before weed was legal, and it's on a main street in the city. And it's just like, if the police in that area are not being paid off by the mafia that run it, then you don't tell me something's up. Hey, Luna, awesome to have you on. And so basically, in saying that the system was corrupt, then I got sent away, and I got stuck there for 2.5 weeks. I basically had to learn how to play the game. And while I was in there, I basically said, okay, like, we learn how to play based on being a pawn, bishop, or king, were the players' choices that I was going with at that time. And now I've expanded my options to be like, oh, wait, we've got a queen and a castle, and we got a knight too. So it's just like, when you realize all the players you can move with, then you've got greater options. And that's what this CD can be. This is what this can be, to be the one that somebody's listening to when they're driving through the night and they're trying to get to their next destination, like the shepherd in The Alchemist. And these things are just, people need access. The sacred information has been held behind closed doors for far too long, and you had to offer a vow of secrecy or silence in order to gain access to the truths you weren't then allowed to tell. And so I say, let's bypass that and give the people the fuel that they need to make it through what's coming. Because as the truth gets exposed and revealed at a deeper level, people are going to have an unbecoming and the unknowing of what they thought to be true in order to remake it. And music can help in cementing that in a healthy way. Luna, you feel like you're very much one who is more grounded in the moment and very much wanting to get out of the fear mongering. And in the first session, I want to just acknowledge that in the first session, I was very much like, okay, like, guys, Rockefeller Report 2010 tells us everything that's happening. Agenda 20, Agenda 21, and just going into the stories about like what's been happening, their dream. But doing that, that's when then the energy of unrest gets introduced. And when I kind of went through my experience, when I did call myself in, I hadn't had much sleep. And I basically was going through my own elevation and enlightenment, but in the process, I stopped making sense to the real world. And I wonder if anyone's been here. And what I know is that when we are not delivering the information in a way that makes people feel safe, then they're not able to receive it. And I feel like, Luna, you are an appropriate person to have say something about that, based on the first summit, when I recognized myself in the pattern of fear in disguise as information that people need to know about, that's just fear perpetuating itself under an empowered story. And so I want to acknowledge you for calling me out indirectly for it, and then also give you an opportunity to share some of what you bring to the floor in these summits.
Well, hello, first of all. I'm sorry I'm a little bit late. I was having dinner because it's like 9 p.m. here. So I hope you're all well. I'm sorry I missed the other summit. It just completely went under my radar. And then I saw it happen and it was like, oh, oops, sorry. So I think I missed some stuff. So I'm not completely up to date. So I don't know how far I should speak right now without knowing exactly what has happened so far. So maybe you could just kind of update me really quickly before I say anything.
It's not even so much about the summit as it was about the experience that I wanted you to speak into, about really what this opportunity represents. And so I appreciate that I'm wanting to go into the rabbit holes of information and insights and feel into it and move into things, but you guys want the goods. You guys want to know what this project is and whether you want to actually be there to be felt into and to be able to know whether this is something you want to groove with. So I appreciate that very much. What we'll do then is we will get you that information. Jared, would you like to say anything before we move into the presentation of what it is that we're looking to build together?
Yeah, so I've been doing a lot of research this past week, and also continuing on way before that so I was introduced into the idea of sound healing. It was kind of like, okay, well, what is this? It's really weird. It sounds kind of new age-ish and odd. But then I learned, oh man, I just looked this guy's name up. So I learned some information about a guy who created a machine in the 1930s that used sound vibration, sound resonance to treat cancer. And obviously his machine it has to be recognized because of when he started doing it and all the positive effects that he's had using this machine. Obviously he's long dead and gone, but his machine persists and is still a viable treatment option for people with cancer. And to look at the information, so in doing research just on his machine alone, you see that he uses really high frequency sound waves to blast into this at a molecular level, to blast into the cells to help them to organize and align themselves to cure effectively cancer. And what his machine's been able to accomplish is quite miraculous. In the medical industry, there's two schools. One of them called it a low energy machine that just kind of obfuscated all of the factual information that was shared on a lot of different websites about his machine. And it was like, okay, that's really weird, but you look at them, they're all supporting the pharmaceutical industry. Getting away from all that, going back to the value of the machine, positive effects measurable from sound energy at a cellular level. There is a lot of different studies that have been done that value that information, that knowledge and understanding. And so I was like, okay, well, what's the difference between, I looked at the different hertz that are said to be healing sounds. And I don't know if Laura wants me to go into this right yet, but I put up a chart and kind of an idea of where those hertz are measured against the notes that we currently know. And what it is just a one-off variation. I watched a study on this at different times throughout history. There's been in different countries and different regions, people all kind of tuned to what felt right to them. And that wasn't really standardized until the 1800s. And it's something we think of as being like a pretty standard thing. And there was some standardization in different regions in the 1500s, but then more solidly throughout the world, there's in the 1800s, that was really a big movement that they went to and finally settled. So we talk about like 432, which is at one time was recognized as an A, between an A and an A flat. And so then what we now recognize as an A note is 440 hertz. So getting technical with it, yeah, they're just a little bit off. What I think was really telling me, as I looked at different side-by-side comparisons of standard tuning, they call it concert tuning, which is the 440 frequency, compared to the 432. And it was surprising to me to just see and feel the difference. They both sounded great. One of them just had a deeper resonance to it, and it, like I said, just might just be that tone is toned down just a little bit, but also that tone that's toned down just a little bit seemed to feel a little bit more comfortable. At least that was my perception and my experience. So I put together some charts and things and exactly what we're talking about and what we're trying to put together. So you each have, I know there's already songs that many of you have that would line up perfectly with this. Susie Corey, when she was here last time, she said she'll be joining us shortly. She has some really great music. I know Luna has some great music. All of you guys have some great music that would fit right into this program and into this idea and into this concept that tell your story, that tell your experience and speak to your individual journeys. And that's, Laura's kind of going to go into more detail about the journey and the story that we're trying to collectively tell, and with the energy that we share in our individual songs. They don't have to be exactly on point to point to point for what we're talking about in general, but come from a heart, come from our own life experience, because that's what reaches and that's what teaches and that's what uplifts. And so when we talk about adding in these tones and frequencies, Rimini, the first time was talking about how, that's just a setting on your EQ. You set your EQ to this lower resonance or this higher resonance, depending upon where your tonation is going to be a specific. But I'm talking about adding in something like a constant crystal bowl sound, or a chime, or the pipes, or a didgeridoo. Didgeridoos are great because they come naturally with a great resonance, and then, or a cello. Something that can just hold out long whole notes that have these vibrant tones that are directed at helping to heal your emotional well-being and heal your spiritual self, clean out your understanding. And once we get that laid out underneath whatever you've already produced, I think that kind of gets the idea that this whole album that we're putting together is about healing. And you have music, that's great, and we want to use it. We want to use it because we want to support you guys as the artists that are creating music that is designed to uplift and build people. And we want to add a little bit more design to the idea of uplifting and building and carrying these tones underneath what we're doing.
And enlightenment as well, as that was introduced by Laura.
Yeah.
What did you say, Will? Sorry.
Oh, I apologize. Enlightenment, also that as well. Enlightenment.
Okay, yeah, the enlightenment to the stories.
Yeah.
What you're gonna share with us today?
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. I absolutely love that. And somebody that I am hoping to be able to introduce you to is a woman named Brenda Williams that I connected with because she did an interview on Gaia TV, and she was asking for 100 leaders to step forth about underlaying the triad wave, which is the heart wave frequency, into their work to be able to calm people's nervous system in order to be able to receive the higher level messages. So right now there is a transition of the flame keeper right now going on with the triad wave. So I'm not quite sure whether that's something that can be added into the project. But what this is an opportunity for layering of our stuff in with all that came before it that is the best, and refining everything, and then just on the table putting out the virtues and then choosing from the virtues to be able to focus on. Because when I went through my enlightenment and got locked up, I was basically saying, as an ambassador of peace, it's about refining the virtues, taking God out of the box to realize that it, he, she is all that is, and we just need to stop being so offended somebody might even mention that 3-letter word. and just realize that we're all here to become ascended masters. We're all here to embody a new energetic frequency and contribute the wisdom that we gleaned from the journey. Like in the last meeting where I broke down the hero's journey in the sacred sojourn of the soul that I devoted nearly 4 years of my life to writing about now, that even yesterday then got to another level yet, which is what I wanted to share with you guys today. Because now it's actually using the teachings of the ascended masters in relation to the hero's journey and taking it down to deeper levels, so that then we can imbue all of this energy with the light frequencies and the codes to be able to take people on a journey they cannot go on themselves, and that they really need some cheerleaders along the sidelines. And being in their radio now more than ever is going to be huge, because there's so much propaganda and fear mongering. We need the ones that remind even the conscious and aware ones about bring it back into the center, call it back to home. We need each other to be able to do that. So basically with this project, we're looking for 22 artists for 22 songs that are going to be on this record. And then, as I mentioned before, as your song gets played, 21 other people's do too. And when somebody else is listening to their song and getting their friends and family to do the same thing, they're going to listen potentially to yours and find you too. Because ultimately, no one of us are as good as all of us. And we are the players on the field. We're the ones that are here. There is no savior coming. We're it. We got to figure out how to get better. We got to figure out how to use what's here. We got to use what we've got inside, and then figure out how to fuse all of that together in some magical creation that's going to uplift people and help them get through their day or their night or that moment they feel weak and don't want to be here anymore, because there's a lot of that right now. And right now, I feel like if people know that they have support and they have people consciously connecting every 2 weeks to put together a project that they can be part of, to be part of the change they seek in the world and actually decide to be it, I think that that does a lot for our own karma. And I think that what comes from it can be magical. And that's really the opportunity that we want to bring to you. So on April 2nd is going to be the deadline, where we're going to ask everybody to have submitted the 22 songs. And what we're going to do in the lead up to that over February, March, and then right before that final deadline of the 2nd of April is we're going to be featuring you who decide to submit one of your songs, or that want to have that song be considered for this compilation. And then what I thought could be really awesome would be to actually think about a community initiative, which we haven't talked about enough to actually do, but a way that we could actually get the music in the hands of the youth to help them be able to know that it doesn't just have to be all the drama and the pain and the trauma and the victimization and all of the bastardization that is happening with their virtuous nature. We don't have to have them dwell in that just because it's popular and mainstream. Maybe we can be the alternative. And so I feel like there's a community project that could come in where we actually start sharing this with youth and actually start a movement to actually get the youth excited about who's there for them, and then make it like the kids' mental health line that actually helps them know that if it's all in their head, they're going to go crazy. Because the heart and the head is the biggest 18-inch gap that we need to help them bridge. And that's what music does. So we need to give them the tools and the trainings and the techniques, and we can do that through the music. And if we actually become the artists that understand the hero's journey and the sacred sojourn of the soul that these kids are going through, that we are going through, then we can help them move through it even more consciously. And so that is really the hope and the intention for this music, for this project rather. And so I feel fully unqualified to be leading this, except for I also know that I'm fully qualified. And I have a friend, Brenda Williams, as I mentioned before, that I really hope will come. But what's interesting, and I say to you because it was important for me to hear 3 years ago when she shared it with me, and it may be important for you to hear too. But she said, in this world where letters behind names make so much difference, and it's all about the certifications on the walls and the things that say that we've got the job title to do the job that's being asked of, which this one is right now. So I'm just happening to say I'll do it. is basically she would put OBG behind hers. And when anybody asked, it was simply ordained by God because you chose to. So I want you to understand how powerful you are as the creator, of which I'm sure you already are aware, but sometimes it's nice to have the reminder. And then it's also to empower you to be able to take what I share, what others in this opportunity share, and then be able to decide how we're going to become better, how we're going to be transmuting some of that karma that's here to lift it into the causal body, to be able to be part of what helps us ascend as individuals, and then also transmute the karma for the collective. Because when we do the work for ourselves, we also do it 7 generations forward and backwards too. So everything that we're doing is so significant beyond measure that we can't even put it into words, but we can put it into feelings, and hopefully that will be what this project becomes for the one that needs to listen to it in the moment that they need to listen to it. Because even though sometimes we want to know about the numbers up front and the projections and what's in it for me, as I talked about in the last episode or the last summit, what's more important is to understand that there will be one person, one cold, dark night in their life when their ego is dying and it is fighting and clawing its way, trying to bring our enlightenment and empowerment down with it, because that's what it fears the very most. They're going to hear your song.
So Laura, I just wanted to add in, the song that we're working on to hopefully go on the album is a song targeted at helping people to overcome sexual trauma, because there's so much that has impacted so many aspects of so many people's lives, and it's just such a needed area that has to be addressed and healed in order for them to be able to, for myself, to move on and to be able to progress as a musician, to be able to progress as a man, to be able to stand up and do the things that life requires of me to do. I had to heal from trauma of my youth. And I know that there are so many other people that are in that same boat. And so that is a topic that we picked to focus on and to create something surrounding this concept of energy and this concept of healing, and with healing tones, because it is imperative that people be able to move past the traumas of their life.
Absolutely.
I apologize, everybody. I have a sick dog, and I'm gonna stay on. I'm just gonna clean up after that sick dog. she's she's not doing
Thanks for
good.
letting us know,
I
Jessica.
have 2. I rescue dogs. I have one older one who's having some trouble, but I'll be right back. I can still
That's
hear
fine.
you.
Oh,
Okay.
sending your dog
Good
love,
luck.
Jessica. Wow, beautiful. But you know what? And the interesting thing about the timing of that too, actually, is the fact that our pets respond energetically to the vibrations of what's happening in this space. And right now, the keeper of said pet is participating in something of a different frequency. And so the animal is responding to that. And then it reminds me too of the 5G, which is another different frequency. And so it's like these things are all things that we can bring into the music. The relevance of the abuse that's happening, and then also the more subtle ways that that's showing up, and the things that we're deemed conspiracy theorists if we talk about. But at the end of the day, the conspiracies have a lot of truth behind them when we actually peel it back. But how do we actually get people to stop just pointing fingers and saying that you haven't done enough research and it hasn't been peer reviewed? Well, who's fact checking the fact checkers? If we can put it into music, we get to bypass the fact checking to an extent. We get to really go to a level that is reserved for a different frequency that's given a platform. So it's just like we have such a powerful opportunity right now. What are you feeling, or is there any feedback about what's been mentioned?
Yes.
Well, I think I'm gonna say something now. Now that I know a bit more about the whole project, I think it's an amazing idea. I really like the idea of, as you all know, we all agreed on this in the first summit of the power of music in healing and helping people. So I think it's a really good idea, and I'm definitely gonna have a look at how I can participate with a song. Um, I do think that we have to be careful in the sense of, as I kind of said last time too, when you approach someone with a truth that is so foreign and on such a different vibration than what they are believing and they are living every day, the first reaction is go away. The first reaction is I don't believe you. The first reaction is you're crazy. It's a reaction that I still have sometimes when I hear some of these incredible conspiracy theories and I'm like, go away, that can't be true. I don't want that to be true. And then I really have to force myself to keep listening and to actually check what's behind it. So I feel like it's very, very important to bear in mind that when we approach people, because we don't want to reach the people that already know, they
Right.
already know.
We don't
We
want
want
to
to
preach
reach
to
the
the
people
choir.
that don't. So
Right.
we have to be very careful in how we want to get that message across. Because if we start talking, I mean, I love listening to you, Laura. I think you're an incredibly inspiring, energized woman. It's amazing. But it's because I already have a spiritual background. I grew up with a mom and a dad that have a spiritual background, and I've been in all of these situations, and I've been on quite a lot of those journeys myself. If I was someone who didn't have that, I would be sitting here thinking, what is she talking about? I don't understand anything she's saying. I don't know what I can do with this. It's foreign. Please help me. So this is not negative, it's just an observation of how we need to communicate this, because it's a very powerful truth that we can all find light in ourselves and that we can move forward, that we can heal, that there is no one that's going to come to save us. We have to find our own journey and our own way, and that can be very different for every person. I mean, that is amazing and that's incredibly powerful, but how do we get that to people without that defense mechanism kicking in? How do we communicate that? So I feel like that is going to be something that we really have to be mindful about, because what I observe more and more with all the people that have these amazing spiritual journeys and concepts. I also watched the video of you explaining the hero's journey in the last summit and all these things. The thing with that is the people that you reach are the people that are already knowing or learning in that space. And from what I'm hearing here, we're talking about trauma, we're talking about depression, we're talking about the youth. Those people that are going through that and people that are affected by that are not all already on a path towards finding themselves or on a path involved with this world. So the moment we put that theory in the foreground very loudly, it's going to be a bit hard for them to swallow. So I think
Right.
that's definitely something we should really think about. How do we reach people in a way that meets them where they are? Because that's, as I said, that's something I observe very often. The people like us, people that are open to these things, that listen to these things, we are already in that space. And we attract people that are already in that space, and we talk as if it was the most normal thing that we already know and that we're already going through and that everyone knows about. But people outside of that space don't know that. And this is not condescending. It's not meaning that they, it's not their world. If someone comes in here right now and starts talking to me about engineering in the terms they would talk to someone else who is an engineer, I would probably sit here and think, what? I don't understand a word you say. But for them, it's a very interesting conversation. So I feel like that is an important thing to keep in mind, to just say, how do we do something different? Because there's so many people having this conversation in these terms, and so many people reaching the people that already know. How do we reach the people that don't know? How do we reach the people that are believing everything that's on the news, that are living in fear, that are really going through a rough time, and that have not had the access to tools like this and to knowledge like this? So I think that is very important. And I'm repeating myself, so I'm going to stop talking because I'm very good at repeating myself.
You're okay. Luna. I really love what you're saying, and that's where we're coming at with this whole album concept. Is Laura's presenting this information that we have as the creators of the music that we're putting out, and music has that ability to cut through where your brain doesn't understand, but your heart knows. And so as music creators, as music designers, we have the ability to tap into that understanding and to share that with them. And we share it in song, and then we put up the idea that this is a healing album, the Sacred Sojourn of the Soul, or this is the hero's journey, presenting the concept of the hero's journey. That's a very popular storyline in science fiction or in any kind of fiction. Like you have the hero of the story and he goes through this journey, and that's what the whole stories are about.
Definitely storytelling. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely storytelling. So
did you notice
oh,
sorry, Will.
That's all good. Who wants to
You go.
I guess I could just share briefly, if you don't mind.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So for responding to Luna's sort of questions about how to distribute and how to reach wider audiences, maybe we could. I know there's NAMI, the National Association for Mental Illness. I think we can somehow sort of offer this idea to them. And also there's these playlists with sort of ambient sounds and sort of focus on Spotify.
So yeah, so what we have is we have the ability to take the music that we create, and we're going to market this out. And it's not going to be marketed as this, the whole presentation that Laura's giving us here today. It's going to be marketed as, this is some great music. This is great music, and it's aimed at helping people to just deal with life. I mean, like all music is, we have music that uplifts and inspires. We have music that tears people down and drives people into the ground. So you have the idea that Laura's saying is that we want to appeal to the youth with what we're doing, but we have different genres that we're covering. We have different ideas and different sounds that we're bringing together. We're putting it all together in one place to expose people to new things. And it's something that I'm definitely going to be financially backing as much as I can to promote this whole album, to promote this whole concept. I'm talking with Danny Cortese in the UK about being our promotional expert on this project. And what goes out in front of everybody else isn't going to be the entire presentation that Laura's doing for us. It's going to be our journey. It's going to be our experience. It's going to be the music, the 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute music songs that we put out there that are going to reach them and help them to take the steps to go on their own journey, or to help them to come to a cognition of a need to heal or deal with past trauma. I mean, for myself, I went a lot of years suppressing what happened to me because I couldn't recognize it, and I couldn't face it, and I couldn't acknowledge it. And once I did, I immediately found music as a really strong relief and expression to just kind of help me keep going. But also I found that, going to therapy and getting that counseling was essential for my growth and understanding. I think the idea behind the album is putting together the songs that express our journeys and give people the prompts that they need to look into their own lives, to come back to their heart center, just like Laura was just saying.
So it's really about creating a new artist type, which is creators under, instead of Christian or rock or R&B, it's conscious. It's creators. It's about giving people an opportunity to understand the fact that we are multidimensional beings, body, mind, heart, spirit, all in one, holy. And I actually loved earlier, I was speaking with somebody and I was doing an interview with a friend, Pauline Dearst, who wrote a book about naturally overcoming cancer, and he's an amazing guy. Anyway, one of the things that stuck out in my head when he was speaking was about holistic, and what filtered through as I am learning to break down words more, as we do with the songs that we write and the lyrics that we put into the songs that can really shift people, is whole I stick is what holistic is about. And so it just made so much sense to me that we would make it about the fully integrated individual. And if you haven't had a chance to listen to the summit from last time, the piece that I had focused my presentation on was the intro to the Sacred Sojourn of the Soul. And actually, it's an adaptation of The Hero's Journey by Joseph Campbell. But just so you're familiar and so that it's in this one as well, I'm just going to give a really quick 2-minute rundown just so that essentially you can hold this in your field, because that's the interesting thing as artists, is that all of the input that we get then is like a stamp in the signature that we then put out, which is why when you do any kind of business dealings with anyone, you really have to feel the energetic resonance and the connection between you and that person, because if there is anything off, it's not going to work energetically, and their offness is going to be an imprint in the signature that represents you. Just as an FYI, from a conscious business perspective, that's a really important tidbit that I learned early on and didn't always heed, much to my disadvantage. So the point is that what I've done is actually, because all information is ever building on itself, I've actually taken the 12 different features from the cosmic clock that I'm learning about, which is God power being aligned now with contribution as the pinnacle, which is where legacy starts, which is what this project is, essentially a legacy project that helps us be able to represent and respect and reflect the fact that we chose to be who we chose to be in this world proudly, and proclaim it and declare it and say that I have something of value to contribute through the song that you put onto this album. So really looking forward to hearing your contributions. And essentially that's the starting place that we're all at right now. And we feel home. And one of the connections I made this week that's amazing is the fact that our homies, our friends, feel like home to us, which is why we like them. They feel comfortable to us. If we don't resonate with somebody, if it feels off, then we're not going to feel comfortable, which means our nervous system's not going to be at rest, which means that we're not going to be able to settle, which means we're not going to be able to get to rest and digest, which means we're not going to be able to fully integrate everything because we're not fully embodied ourselves. Our energy is still out here. So really learning how to pull it back in when we've heard the call of God mastery, which is the desire to be more as part of something like this, for instance. And then we might veil that unrest by getting busy or procrastinating or choosing to doubt our worthiness to participate. And that's just relevant to you who may be considering actually contributing to this, but more so for the one that's listening to your music and has something on a different scale to be able to consider that your understanding of this will then help them be able to work through more consciously or intentionally, because that's where power is. When we meet the one, or we actually experience God obedience of listening to the purpose that we've come here for, that help us move into the agreement to go into the unknown and leave the comfort zone of what was familiar and made us feel safe, and actually go in where we have the trials and tribulations of experiencing and reaching God's harmony, which it requires the ebb and flow like a heart rate on a monitor that's an equal up and down. God harmony is about understanding what disharmony is in order to be able to say, okay, this is what it isn't and this is what it is. So let's just stick with what it is and not need to go to these extremes so much. We're still figuring that out in the trials and tribulations component when we meet those teachers, like what we get to be for those ones that listen to the song and let us be the teacher in that 3-minute segment that we contribute and share our heart and love with that person that then has God gratitude by going through the dark night of the ego, understanding that we're not trying to rescue them, we're just letting them know that we've been through it too and can help them go through it more consciously. And then we get into the dark light of the soul, where we actually understand that we have equal capacity for greatness or tremendous evil, and it's us that gets to choose what we're going to do with that potential. and then go into the phoenix process of death and rebirth, being like Khaleesi, who throws herself onto the pyre of Khal Drogo, her husband's pyre in Game of Thrones, where she then becomes consumed, as is the woman she gets thrown in there too because she didn't like what she was saying, which isn't to say that's correct or right, but it is to say she's got karma that then ignited with her, and the 3 dragon eggs that then in the morning emerged with her as the mother of that which thought was going to be consumed, and yet instead it was only renewed and then became that which it wasn't before, but now needs to integrate, because when that energy is still there and then brought in here, we emerge naked and need to become dressed in the attire of our self-image, which is what we're speaking to with these ones who listen to the music. We want to help them actually form a self-image that respects themselves and others, that actually calls them to God victory, of embodying a new energetic signature where they decide to no longer play in the trash that they have been given for toys. And instead of pressing a troll for 15 seconds so she can giggle, which is just insanity, and yet on the markets, until people made a big enough fuss about it to actually get it pulled, how was it even approved in the first place? If not, we let it happen because we let our standards drop because we thought someone responsible was making the rules and found not to be the case. And now we say, okay, well, we're the players on the field, and we might have not the position to say that we have the authority to do that which needs to be done, but we're going to do it anyway because that's what God power is all about. When we come back to the place where we started in the first place, knowing it for the first time, because we have changed and grown new eyes to see the lies of what was oblivious before, now made obvious because we grew. And instead of looking at a 6 problem on a scale of 0 to 10 as a 4, we grew into a 6 and suddenly saw its head. And then we grew into an 8, and that problem was no longer such a problem. We just had to move around it in a new way. Problems don't go away. We just get different higher level perspectives of higher level problems, and then can pay someone else to deal with the problems that are smaller. So it's just all relative. And right now we've got an opportunity to come together with that perspective. Hopefully it was useful. Would love anyone's insight as to what that means. Or
Laura, again, I really appreciate you taking a moment to share that concept and the foundational elements behind what we're doing, behind our project. And like I was saying to Luna, we're laying the foundation. This is the work that we're putting together. And as we go through and select the songs that we want to share, we want to be able to think about, okay, so when we've got somebody we're trying to impact, that's somewhere on their journey, whether they even know it or not, or whether they acknowledge it or not, or whether they're just wherever they're at, wherever they're coming from, we want to help them to find their heart center, to find where they can come back to and find direction for their own life.
And speaking of that, I want to hear. Hold on, let me see these names here. Jenny, Emily, is that correct? And Jenny, sorry, and Jessica Lee and Jules. I'd like to hear like what your sort of interpretation or your thoughts on this and your feelings. Like, I would just love to hear that.
Hey everybody, well this is Jess, and it's nice to see all of you and to be here with you. And I guess I've been a musician for a lot of years. I've since I was like a baby, I played piano and sang, and it's been a lot of years. Um, I'm I have a 5 in front of my age, so I just turned 51, and I've been doing professional music live. I'm road tested for 25 years. Um, I believe that music heals, period. If it's put out there with unconditional love and concern for others, we don't even need a lot of words because the music will speak. Yes. And so I believe that what was shared today is very beautiful. I also believe that a lot of people won't understand words like we, but when we put out the right music together, everybody bringing his music, her music, authentically, just telling the story with their own unique voices and their own unique ways, uh, the music will heal. It will heal us as we do it, and it will heal others as they receive it. And I've come to believe that's simple. I will share with you that I do have some friends. I don't know if anybody knows Eric Lawrence with a K, Eric, Erik, and he's a saxophonist. He plays all the horns, and his dad founded the New School for Jazz and Contemporary Music in New York City, and they were healers. And Eric, his dad's in heaven now, but Eric remains, and he's on the board of the Louis Armstrong Center for Music and Medicine in New York City. And Eric is very much into the silo of sound healing, right? The silo. So he plays all kinds of jazz and all kinds of world music and all that, but he's also like into that very specific genre of sound healing and sound baths and things like that. For me, I come to this project just as a musician. I come to it genreless, just with an open heart to love to collaborate with everybody and to be with you and to bring the music that came to me. Most of the music that comes to me comes at 3 a.m. and comes quickly, and I don't even feel like I participated that much in the writing of it. And that's some of the music I would share with this group. And I feel that Luna was kind of saying sometimes you have to meet people where they are.
Yes.
And I think if you let the music speak, it will. You'll just meet people where they are. And once you give birth to whatever music you give birth to, it's everybody's, and they make of it different things. God works in mysterious ways, and that music moves in people's lives. And so I just glad to be with you all today. And so I'm sending a lot of good vibes and unconditional love to everybody here. And I just want to say that I'd be honored to submit a song. I'll throw 3 out there to you, Jared, and you can pick one or pick none. And
Yes.
I love you all.
Yes.
Cool.
We
We
love
love
you.
you, Jessica. That's amazing. Yes, we love you.
Love
I
it.
feel like you're my sister. Like we have so much in common. And I also rescue animals. In fact, I just had to put one down December 27th. I know it's like a chunk is taken out of your heart when that happens. But I just wanted to ditto, Jessica, I'm serious. I feel like we're like, I just enjoy everything that people have said. And I have a 5 at the beginning of my age too. Yeah, I know. And I've been touring and singing and songwriting. What COVID did for me is actually open up a whole new world. And I've been learning production. And I also just graduated from sound engineering course. And so that's, the whole frequency, and it makes so much sense. And I think it's a lot of like finding space. Like I agree with you, just all music, like not all, I should say, music has a big part of healing. I mean, yeah, we all know that there's some icky music out there, but I also want to ditto what Luna said in that I think for me, what I've really learned is to keep it simple and to be authentic and to just love on people and to get, to meet them wherever they're at. And like I used to be in a Christian blues band, gospel blues. And after I was, and we toured, we did a lot of shows, but who listens to Christian music? Usually Christians. So how do you reach, and this is just one example. How do you reach the multitudes of people that are hurting out there? Because not a lot of non-believers go to an actual Christian rally or worship in the churches. And so that's kind of like my motto. And I would just like to know, because you were talking about all the frequencies and everything. And what's cool is that when I was reading, I've been kind of out of touch, and I apologize. I'm getting my house ready to sell, and that's just nuts. I mean, it's a lot of work. But the question, because I actually just produced and co-wrote a song with my Australian partner, Amy Francis, and it's called Quiet Warrior. And I'm like, wow, that's like totally in alignment with everything that I've been reading in your emails. And But as far as the sound spectrum, because we're talking about at the very beginning, I guess what I'm not understanding is, are you looking for something very, like, are you going to send out like this narrowed tunnel of frequencies that you're looking for? Or are we just talking like generally? Because I know, like, when I learned in my sound classes, you know, the whole frequency table and making room for things. And I know that there's some, in fact, I was watching a movie last night and the song on it really gave me a headache and made me feel sick to my stomach. And I know it was because of the frequency that some of the sounds were interfering with one another. So is there something very narrowed down and specific that you're going to send out? Or, because I guess that's the part I'm not understanding.
Jared, let me ask that question a different way, because I was asking myself the same thing. Are we submitting original music that we've written and performed?
Absolutely.
And if it comes from a place, you know, of great intentions and it has a great energy, you guys select that?
Yes.
Or are we,
Yeah, there's
or
no-
are we putting out music and you guys want to alter it in some
No,
way?
okay.
Yeah, well put.
So yeah, like, I would love if we could include some of these tones underneath what we're doing. I'm not going to change your music. I'm going to support you as an artist for who you are and what you've got. And I think that we're all dealing on that same energy level of trying to uplift and build and coming from a place of authenticity. And I think that there's no need to mess with that. Like, I have no need to touch your music with anything other than what you've got. And I think that we're coming with that same energy. And like you said, Jessica, when you bring energy and when you bring that authenticity, the subtle variations in vibration aren't going to matter as much as what's communicated to the listener, what's felt. And so, you know, that's one of the things I mentioned in the very start of what we're doing today, is that I started looking at comparison videos between people playing at like 440 versus, oh yeah, there you go, versus 432. And then, you know, even other older charts say that 417 is the way to go. And so there's just different ideas and concepts that people have about specific hertz and resonance. My feeling is if your music's authentic, and if you have some kind of underlying way of expressing uplifting, that healing and uplifting energy, I think that's the central focus of what we're looking for. I would love to be able to include specific, you know, like a didgeridoo or a cello or chimes or crystal bowls, like, in the background on what we've got. But you got what you've got, and I'm going to promote what you've got, because I think this is all a work in progress, and I don't think this is going to be the last. I don't think this is going to be the last project that we do. I think this is going to be the first project that we do, probably many. And the idea is that I want to promote and build the artists who want to promote and build. I want to promote the artists who want to lift and build. And I think that if we can lift each other up and we can support each other, then we have a greater reach as to the good that we can do with our individual music.
Mm-hmm. And we're not the type that want to keep you in a box, obviously. So this is very much an out of the box project. So what I heard when Jessica started speaking, actually, it was that feeling of like, I'm not sure, like, I'm just an artist, and it's just like, that's perfect. Like, I don't even call myself that specifically. It's just like, I just sing sometimes, and my dad gave me a guitar yesterday, or lent me a guitar yesterday, so I'm going to learn how to play. And it's just like, it all just happens exactly as it's meant to. And ultimately, we're just asking for your best, and to let that be part of the legacy that then we can share with the world in a bigger way. And what we want is for you to have the awareness of some of these things, so that when you're putting the music out, you're aware of how to make the music the most potent it could be for good.
That helps. Yeah, thank you so much. And my only other question is, do you guys already have the 22 artists you're looking for, or are you looking for others?
That's what we're looking for with these summits and gatherings.
You're looking for more. And are you welcoming both instrumental music as well as vocal, or vocal only?
Instrumental, vocal, yes. All the above.
I think that especially even with the instrumental, it could be an opportunity to then have another contributor submit some lyrics that would be consciously consciously minded to be able to add to and then incorporate somebody's lyric.
Yeah, you're talking specifically about collaboration, and that's definitely something we want to promote in this field is collaboration. But if we're, like if you have a specific song that you want to share it. And if we have some artists that wants to collaborate, they'll talk to you, and maybe the collaboration can go on the next album or whatever we're doing. I mean, it's still.
Jules, I was wanting to hear your ideas and concepts and thoughts about this too. If you're still on here, I can't really tell from the screen. But...
I'm here.
Oh, hello.
Thank you, William. That's your name, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, and nobody welcomed Susie. I say welcome, Susie.
Oh, hi, Susie.
She became like my favorite because like she has a song called like "Settle of Dust." I can't sleep without it. So as you have been talking about different instruments, we have a few instruments like that. Like I do make some Afro beats, and maybe you heard some of the percussions on my previous song. I do use some quiet percussions, and sometimes I include some traditional bongo and stuff, which are somehow silent, and they talk to you without really appearing much in your ears. I think that could be also a way of giving a message without harming the ears. As Emily, Emily?
Janine, Emily, yes.
Nice, as you say, without getting all the frequencies and stuff and getting sick about it. So that was a very nice idea, and loved your chart. And of course, everybody has said amazing stuff. So Luna, thank you so much. Laura is always on the vibe. We know that. And Jessica Lee, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jules.
Lovely to meet you.
I suppose it's Susie's.
What a community.
I just want to say, Jules, you're adorable. I saw a message on YouTube, and it didn't click at first that it was you. And then I looked up who's this person who left this wonderful message about my song, and it was you. And then I checked out your music. I love it. So you know what? This is just incredible. So thank you, Jared, for putting this all together. And every single person on here, a part of this. I just, it's like you were saying that sometimes you wonder, well, how am I going to contribute other than the music that I have? I don't have the technical knowledge. I don't know, the specifics of what you're talking about. Like Laura, you're going more specifically into it. It's so cool, though, to start to learn that and to understand it. Having said that, I do fully agree that sometimes you don't even need to know why or how. It's a feeling, and from inside. And for myself, I think I'd mentioned this before when I was talking a little bit about myself. When I sit to write music, I make sure I'm in a really good headspace, which is how I am usually anyhow. But when the inspiration comes, I know I'm in a really good mood. Something very inspiring has brought something on, and I'll sit at the piano and start writing. And so whatever is coming is going to be something amazing. And I'm not saying I'm so great, so I mean that the message that's coming out and whatever I'm trying to communicate, it's like, Jessica, I'm sorry, was saying, you don't sometimes even know where it came from. Like, it's not even you, so that's when it's incredible, when it's not contrived, it's not planned, it's not something you sat down to write because you're trying to write a hit for, the music industry. It's something that comes from the heart. You can't help but reach people with that. So, and I'm so glad I'm putting you to sleep every night, Jules.
Ooh, we get into
guys,
quickly in this group.
Interrupt one last thing, Laura, you're gonna love this. Look what I'm reading. I don't know if you guys.
Amazing.
In New Earth. Oh my God, incredible. puts things in perspective. So even though musically I'm not, I do meditation. So I know with meditation, there is the beats and so on. I don't incorporate that into my music, but reading these kind of books is just, it's an eye opener and a mind opener.
Most certainly. That's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing that and the connections that are just organically happening, and how we can find one another and what we're doing and how we'll resonate with some more than others, and letting that be okay, and not needing it to be, finding your new bestie opportunity, but to just finding a community where everyone's able to be themselves, where we can support one another in birthing a creative baby that we might not know how to do, but we know who will ultimately be able to figure it out. Like, ultimately, I joined the John Maxwell team back in 2011 as a founding member in the program. So one of the first 1,000, and then it became more than 20,000 people in the program. And I got to be heavily involved because I got in a relationship with one of the faculty members and moved to England to be with him for 4 years, and got a really high level exposure to leadership at the highest level and some of the biggest names in the industry. And it was a really privileged opportunity that I was only 24 until I was 27. So I really kind of took it for granted to an extent. And then I realized this morning as well that I was 22 when I stopped being a full-time student. And I say that because I feel like there's a lot of people in that boat right now that haven't quite left that student space. And what I want to say is that I hope none of us ever do. I hope that we all stay in that student space. It's just we shift onto the subject matter that's going to inspire and spark us and help us do that for other people too. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to share any final thoughts or tidbits. And Luna?
I was actually kind of waiting for everyone to have spoken because there's so many things that I kind of wanted to reply to, but I was like, breathe, it's good. First of all, I feel like because I only saw a little snippet from the last summit, I didn't have the context. So my concerns that I had, now that you've explained exactly what you're going to do and that this is more like the backbone and not going to be the poster of what we're doing, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. So I think it's a really, really good project, and we're all coming together to use something that has, I think I can really speak for all of us, really impacted our lives with a very big positive force, which is music, and to share that positive force and that art with the world and empower other people through it. And I think that is absolutely wonderful. And we're also having the double effect of that we can empower each other and learn from each other, which I'm doing today. So thank you all so much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your perspectives. And I think it's going to be really, really cool. My mind just went super loud because since we've last spoken, I had an idea that I worked on with someone else, which is creating a songwriting circle virtually. And it's got so much to do with everything that we've just said. I found a platform called AirMeet, and what you can do there is you can sit down on tables. I don't know if you're familiar with the platform, but it's basically a platform you can use for events where you can have a stage where people can kind of watch, just like a conference. And then you also have tables which are just like this, a Zoom call, but you can see the tables, you can see who's sitting there, and you can just join people. So I talked to another group of songwriters and someone who has access to that platform, and we're going to do a weekly meeting in that platform where at the beginning, everyone, songwriters from all over the world, introduce themselves, and then they can just sit at a table with the person that they found interesting in the introduction and write and collaborate and create and exchange their knowledge. And I was just thinking, okay, everything you're saying really ties into that. And since you're also still looking for artists, maybe you would like me to send you the sign up link. We're doing the first one on the 11th of February. And if any of you are interested in showing up there and maybe talking about this and maybe finding other artists and connecting, that could be super cool. There's so much more that I could probably say right now, but that was one of the big things that just came into my mind, like connected. Oh, I'm doing something here. The other thing I was saying, I really resonated with, I think it was Jessica who said it first, music, and I think Susie also said it, music coming from this place that we don't really know, and this place that is so subconscious and so powerful and so real. And the moment I heard that, I knew that I needed to, which song I'm probably gonna send you. Is it okay if it's already released and on other projects? Because I have a song that I wrote like 2 years before I understood what it was about, and right now it's like so incredibly relevant, and I just released it like the end of last year, and it's called,
Perfect.
and I think it's gonna fit pretty well. So
Okay.
there's one little question I still have about that though. So you're going to keep the original song, but you want to add to those songs, right? You kind of want to make a new mix where you add like a
Not
frequency of
necessarily.
something or other instruments, or do you
If
just keep?
that's something you want, like that's
You
something we
desire
can
it,
look at. But it's not
required.
not required and not necessarily even
Necessarily needed.
not a requirement. So it's if that's something you want to do, that's something we can look at doing. I'm entertaining that idea, but
Not
really,
necessarily. It's
I
just
really
because
want you to be able to keep all of your rights to your music. I want this to just be something that we're coming together to mutually support each other and mutually supporting each other to, my intention and my dream is to print as many CDs as I can, to give each of us a stack to hand out to people that we think that would be influential upon, and then at the same time, sell from there. I don't want to. I'm not really big into sales. I feel the same way Laura does about this is my calling, and this is something that I've been pressed to do. I've been blessed with some resources, and I'm going to have more resources open up to me soon. And I feel like it's my job to use those resources to benefit and bless and uplift humanity. And in doing that, I'm guaranteed that, in the law of karma, it's going to come back to me. It's going to come back to me multiplied. And so that's, as we all come together and build each other, we're building each other for the purpose of building. And if that's the goal, is to just to build and lift the people who are listening, I don't think we have a space where we can really lose.
Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I
I
don't
was
know if
just
that answers your
asking
question.
because you mentioned, didgeridoos and instruments and frequencies, and I wasn't sure how we're actually going to tie that into the project.
That's
But
just a concept for you as an artist to look into.
Necessary.
okay, so we're just kind of putting together these songs that come from honest places and
Yes.
creating a compilation, and we can just investigate a bit more on frequency. I have a beautiful album from a German band. They do loads of meditation music, but it's kind of folky, and they also have the tuning. I always forget the number, the nice tuning, the one that's not the one everyone else uses. And it's such a great album. Like I almost fall asleep every time I listen to it because it's just so. So I feel like it's a very interesting topic for sure. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I love the idea. How are we going to do about submitting? Have you like created a link or?
So on
Yes. So
we've got a description in the meetup. So if you guys want to join over there, it's under Peaceful Inner Warriors United. And then each week we've got the Zoom link. So then you get the details there. We'll post replays of these meetings, which we want to have every 2 weeks, like what we have been doing at the same time. And then what we can do is in Meetup, if you wanted to actually submit your songs there, then other people could actually see them as well, rather than it just going over to Jared. So that would be a cool opportunity for people to see that other people are interested, engaged. People can check out other people's music. We've got the emails that we just were sending that I sent out right beforehand. So sometimes those extra little last minute reminders help. And so I'll do better to try to get those out before these meetings, because opportunities to come together and bring our energies into the same space are wonderful. And the opportunity to build relationships with one another and hear more of each other's stories is very important.
In order to collect the songs, I'm going to need the breakdown information that you have uploaded them with. So it's got to have the same signature that you uploaded it with in order to be able to make sure that you get all of your royalties, and that, whatever contribution or contributed royalties that you need to have go out need to be assigned to that specific individual. And so I'm having my producer, his name's Andrew Swindle, and be like a collection place. And so I'll send out an email with his link so that we can have a central place. And then, like Laura says, we want to open this up to sharing as we grow and as we're developing. If you have songs already, I love that. I love that, that'll speed us along in our process, especially
Absolutely.
putting out this first album. This is a calling. This is my life assignment, to keep these going. And so this is our first project that we're working on. If you have songs already you've done in the last year that will fit the bill, then certainly we're going to put them on. We're going to put it on. We're going to promote you like crazy, because that's what I want to do. And I don't know if I'm answering everything right. I actually have to get going, but I thank you, Laura, for hosting.
Oh, also, I just wanted to mention, Luna, don't forget to send that link. That was really cool.
Where do I send it best? Just into the email or into that other link that you mentioned? Or should
My email works fine, or Laura's setting up meetup, you said?
The meetup is already there, and so just in the why is the chat box not easier to find? There it is. Okay. Okay. So I've just posted the meetup link for this event in there, and then you'll be able to find the subsequent events as well. So if you just want to click on that while it's here, you'll be able to get yourself registered there. I think that the resource and network that you mentioned, Luna, with February 11th being the first day for people to be able to come together, is a great way for artists to support each other. So please definitely send that information over.
I have the link to sign up. I'm just going to write it into the chat. And if anyone wants it, you can also just write me a message on any social media or anywhere. So I just sent that out. You can just register and you will get an email about updates, like kind of explaining what we're doing, and then also an email to access the event once it's closer by. So.
And do you have an outcome that you are hoping for from those meetings?
Well, the idea is that we're going to create that community, and that's in the center of everything. To have, like, I imagine it as a virtual songwriting cafe, like just like a place where you just have everyone coming together, and there's different people every week, because obviously not everyone can go there every week, but you can be a part of it, and it's a space online that's open with those tables. And when you're looking for collaborations, you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for people to connect with, you can go there and you will find open-minded artists that are looking for the same thing. We are going to do the first meeting for free, but from then on, we're thinking about asking for a small contribution, because the platform has running costs and we can't really afford them on our own the whole time. But it won't be much, like it will be maximum, maybe like $5 maxed, as just kind of covering the costs. But that is not our goal. The goal is really to create that space, to open that opportunity, and to really have that, because I feel like, especially in these times, we've all been reminded of that lack, right? When it wasn't Corona, you could all just go to a conference, and after there was a speaker, you would meet these people and you would talk and all of that. But right now, all of them are online, and after you see those people, you just close your laptop and you haven't met anyone. And just to kind of mix, like exactly fill that gap of we have so many people giving knowledge online and classes, and all of that has found its space online. But what we're doing here and right now, which is pretty much what is going to be happening at the songwriting circle too, the tables have, I think, maximum 6 people. So at each table, there will be small groups of like-minded people talking about projects, just like we are right now. Mm-hmm. That is what I feel has been missing the most over the last year. So the idea is to fill that gap and create that space. And the goal is to just enable as many artists as possible as to find other people that want to work with them on their projects. So if you were to go and you just like to talk, and we have an introduction round and a playlist of all the artists that sign up. So beforehand, you can listen to the playlist, you can look, oh, I really like what they are doing, I would like to talk to them. And then in the introduction round, everyone is asked up on stage. Me and Isabel, who are organizing it, one of us will be hosting that. And we will just get everyone up on stage before we start, and they can quickly introduce themselves. So let's say that you go, Laura, and you just go on stage and you say, hey, I'm working on this really cool project with music and healing, and I'm looking for people to collaborate there. And you kind of explain that. And afterwards, we all go into the lounge, and you can just sit down at a table, and people that want to talk to you about it can sit down with you. Yeah. So it's not about creating one project, big one. It's just about creating a space where people can meet and develop their own projects and grow.
Fantastic. I'm feeling like what might be most appropriate then would be to actually, if it's possible, have some specific meetups there for people involved in this project even. Could be a really nice value add that maybe we could work out, and then that could get you even more people into what you're doing too. So there's always, yeah, I'm always kind of thinking, how can we win-win? And then also, how can we leverage what we're already doing? And then how can we maybe sprinkle in a bit extra so that then there are even more opportunities for people to be able to choose what's going to be best for them based on their appetite that day.
Absolutely.
But I have a 5 o'clock, so I apologize. I have to run, but it's great to be with you all. And I'll email my contact information around as
Thank
well.
you. Beautiful.
So, okay. All right. See you guys.
Pleasure to have you. And so we will wrap the meeting up because everybody is needing to get going. But definitely wanted to say too, where the production is concerned with this CD, we're still open to providers. We're still not set in the details about the publishing around this. So somebody that has that as your business, or that you know somebody that might want to get involved in this collaborative project, then we're not closed to that, and we certainly don't have all the answers. So just really wanted to put it out there in a very plain text to simply say, you know, this is coming together naturally because we're the players on the field, we've got the tools, and we just need to figure out what our seat in the bus is, which was the reason that I brought up the John Maxwell team in the first place. Paul Martinelli, the president of that, used to always say that we've just got to get the right people in the right seats on the bus. So right now we've got some amazing people in here and we're figuring out all of that. We're open to suggestions, so please keep the conversation going. We will meet again in 2 weeks so that we can continue to get organized and keep the dream alive. And if you wanted to submit one of your songs, please post it to the meetup group. So that way people can get a taste of it under next week's music, so that way people will be, or not next week, but the week after that, so that way people can listen to some of you who will be in view in the meetings, and then we'll get more traction going and more excitement. And we appreciate your energy and enthusiasm for almost an hour and a half of your time. Thank you for being willing to step out of the box and try something new. Luna?
I can just make one last really quick suggestion. How about one of us makes a Spotify playlist with some of the music that we're all putting out, not just for the project, just so we can all listen to each other? Because I would love, I haven't heard anything from Jules, and I'm sure it's great, so I really want to listen to that. And I think I've listened to all of you after the other call, and it was all very beautiful. But it would be cool to have a place, and I think we all have Spotify probably as artists. Maybe we can just do a playlist, and maybe you can even do that, Laura, because you know everyone, I think.
I don't. Jared does. Will and Jared. I'll leave Will and Jared to that task.
Send it around email so we can just, support each other and listen to each other. I think that would be
absolutely. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, definitely we need that.
Fantastic. Okay, yeah. Thank you for that. To be perfectly honest, like I literally don't consider myself, I haven't considered myself an artist or a musician until now. Like I'm an empowerment coach. I've been writing a book. Like I'm a speaker. I do other things. I sing sometimes, but like to me, sing sometimes isn't musician necessarily, or isn't, what does it take to actually label yourself as this? And I think that's something that some of these young kids need to understand. It's like, you don't become a star because someone puts you on stage. You get your ass on that stage because you got your ass to the place that said yes was for them to see you doing what they wanted you to do on that stage. It's just like
no one else decides if you're a musician. You're the one who decides if you're a musician. And the moment you decide that you are, you are. That's it. There's no other requirement at all.
I love that, but sometimes we need permission. And it's like, I don't have a Spotify account because I've never considered myself a permission, or I've never considered myself a musician because no one gave me permission. But what if, as part of this, and maybe that's part of the final moments of this important message, we simply say that what we're doing subliminally when we're making these songs is we're giving people permission to be themselves, to include the artist in there. I literally on Sundays at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, if anyone's interested, I do self-compassion surveys, or not surveys, sacred self-compassion services. So it's kind of like the church without the church, because I'm not a minister or anything like that, because no one gave me permission, and I don't have a box I put God into. So I never knew how to be me and put it all out there without saying somebody else's work, which is ironic, because what I wanted to share with you about those services is that I've decided to read out The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. If anyone's familiar with that, it's a 12-week course into recovering the artist within, doing the inner work to uncover, doing morning pages, and doing things that are, as artists, naturally happen, but not necessarily as a civilian does it happen. So on Sundays, if you want to come out, we're going to read a chapter of that as like a start out the week on a strong note kind of opportunity. And it very much ties into the hero's journey and everything else that may be going into what's coming too. So I put that out there, not in any way to put anyone off if that does, and I apologize.
Say the time again and the place, because I didn't catch that exactly. Sorry.
Sacred Self-Compassion Services, and they're on Zoom.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, so if anyone's interested, by all means do that. And then we're going to wrap up today's meeting, unless anyone else has something else you wanted to mention.
I definitely love that you all just contributed. I try my best to incorporate all of you guys. I mean, Jared does talk. He's kind of, I don't know. But anyways, it's very good that you all shared your piece of what you think of this, and just having this group just be a group and be one in mind and have these ideas just all intertwined with each other, and having that ability to just express it and not be sort of limited to this sort of frequency sounds or anything, because you don't want to limit your own sort of creative aspects of your own music. So I think this is a really great idea, and I love everyone who participated, and I really enjoy hearing all of you guys, words. So
beautiful. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming out today. We will see you again in 2 weeks, which I believe is on the 7th of February or the 9th of February. I should have had that with me. So apologies, but we've got the email. So we'll get that out to you guys. I'll send this over to Jared so he can get this meeting up if anyone would like to tune back into it. And then, as mentioned, if you would like to start submitting songs to the group or send them over to Jared so that we can experience some of your brilliance that's already in this world, we look forward to seeing what we all birth together.
Awesome.
Namaste. Have a great day, guys.
bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Yeah.
Ciao.